Thank you for remaining with us. You know, we said earlier that so many things that happen isochronously all over the nation. And Anambra State is no less one of those states where those things are happening. It is no longer news, and if it is news to you, know it now, that Anambra State emerged the best performing state at the 2024 Primary Healthcare Leadership Challenge Awards held in Abuja. Only 20% of Nigeria's 30,000 PHC facilities are fully functional, leaving most unable to provide essential services despite their critical role. The challenge was launched in 2022 by the federal government, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and partners like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and UNICEF to evaluate states on governance, financing, service delivery, and sustainability. Of course, the Anambra State Governor reacted, said he remains committed to a vision of creating a livable, clean, and prosperous Anambra State. So let's have a conversation with him on this and several other issues this morning. Professor Charles Soludo joins us. He is the governor of Anambra State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this, and always a pleasure to join this you on this particular program.
You know, forgive me.
Before we start, Governor, congratulations on being the best state in this healthcare competition that took place. Was it really a competition?
Well, clearly. Otherwise, you won't emerge if you didn't. You know, what's funny, Your Excellency, I almost said Professor Charles Soludo, Governor of Ekiti State. I'm waiting for that day. Okay. Well, first of all, it's been quite a length of time segueing from the private sector into public government, and then from federal government to state government and all of that. What's this journey been like for you?
Well, there is only one goal. It's everything in life. Thank you very much once again for having me. It's, as you said in your intro, our mission here is to contribute our quota in building a livable and prosperous, smart mega city, Anambra, because we believe it has all the potentials to be able to, be the best that it can possibly be. And so, when you said the journey from private, academia, international consulting to the federal government and now to Anambra, there is only one purpose. And that purpose is that we've got a short while here on earth. And while we're here on earth, everybody at the last day will have to answer one question. How did you leave the place better than you met it? And so for me, this journey is driven by that singular purpose, that here on earth, we must contribute to the work of God and live in this place better than we met it. But just talking about the context that you really did mention. Our mission here actually is to give real content, real ideological content to politics and governance in using our state as a case study. We are the foremost progressive political party in Nigeria, the All Progressives Grand Alliance. And our mantra is leave no one behind. In fact, our motto is be your brothers and sisters keeper. And so for us, we realize that the system is as strong as the weakest link. And therefore, leaving no one behind or progressivism is not just a slogan. It is one that you've got to mainstream. It is one that you've got to purposefully, intentionally drive to be sure that all aspects of society, particularly the weakest link, is actually stitched up. And I like the statistics that you mentioned. Nationwide, about 20% being, of PHCs, primary health centers, not functional nationwide. Here in Anambra, when we came, even the entire health infrastructure as a foundation, together with education, human capital being the foundation for this livable and prosperous society we intend to do. We purposely began to focus in a laser form to create an ecosystem, a health ecosystem that strengthens the bottom, where you have the base, the primary health system, the secondary, where we have the general hospitals, building 5 brand new general hospitals, and in all the local government that didn't have them, refurbished about 3 of them, so 8 of them brand new now. And then at the tertiary level, getting our tertiary institutions, the teaching hospital. We're building the biggest trauma center in, somebody says in Africa, I don't know, but the relative numbers and so on. Building a cancer center and oncology services, oncology services to our people. There's a work in progress. But at the base, like I said, the system is as strong as the weakest link. We realize that less than about only 25% of the population actually patronize public health institutions. That's a joke, actually. And we were bent on reversing this and providing access to the vast majority of the people. And therefore, part of it was to tackle the primary health centers in the 326 wards in Anambra, giving them, refurbishing their infrastructure, putting on solar, water, re-equipping them. Very importantly, about 19 general hospitals when we came didn't have medical personnel, let alone the primary health care services. We've now recruited barely about 1,000 medical professionals, consultants, nurses, pharmacists, and so on, and put them in all our medical facilities, especially the primary health centers. And we're on course to really now the innovation part, telemedicine, where we are using technology to link these primary health facilities to secondary care, where you have 24-hour call services by standby qualified doctors. So once you are in a ward, you should be able to have access to a doctor 24/7. And so for us, it's very intentional, deliberate, and systematic approach to upscaling all of this. And then at the policy level, even the legal framework to be able to monitor and control even the quack hospitals and everywhere to ensure a holistic, qualitative healthcare system to our people. But also even our own public sector thing to ensure a law has been passed to ensure that we have health facility monitoring and accreditation law, which we have done, but deploying technology. But very fundamentally, we'll have a policy of free antenatal, free delivery services to the, in all the government health facilities in Anambra State. And I will tell you, so far, about 82,888 beneficiaries have benefited from this particular program. We pay all expenses.
Wow.
You go for antenatal, we give you free drugs and your delivery, including cesarean. And now cesarean, the latest statistics I have is that close to 400 cesarean operations have been successfully executed under this program. All free of charge.
Wow.
All free of charge in the state. Like I said, a progressive idea. Progressivism is not just a slogan. It's foundational to building this livable and prosperous society where no one is left behind. It's the same thing we're doing in education, for example. When we came on and prioritized recruiting 8,115 teachers, recruited from 18 states of Nigeria, because quality and expertise, we don't just want to recruit, we want to have the best teacher to teach our children, not the incompetent teacher from the village. So to speak, and that has raised, school enrollment in public schools by about 20%, and out-of-school children in Anambra is the lowest in the country of the 36 states and FCT. So this is it's a very intentional, deliberate agenda, aside from massive investment in education, of scaling their infrastructure, including migration to sustainable, smart education, and so on. So for us,
Prof,
this is only part of a program of building, prioritizing human capital as a foundation to that society that is livable and prosperous.
Prof, let me take you back to the free antenatal care which you spoke about. Sometimes government has all the good intentions in the world, but those who are actually supposed to implement it sabotage the government's efforts. And a case in point was last Christmas when there were government instituted free train rides on the newly refurbished trains from certain areas across Nigeria, and it was discovered that the staff of the agency were sabotaging that effort, buying all the tickets and, collecting the tickets, hiding them and not letting the people have access to those tickets or selling them to the public. Now, this free antenatal which you have spoken about, are you sure that those supposed to actually implement it, you mentioned 400 cesarean sections having been done already, are you sure that somewhere along that line, nobody is sabotaging these efforts?
Well, thank you very much. Every human system, as you know, is subject to some abuse or the other, and that is why you set up all the monitoring, all the evaluation, supervisory systems in place. As I always said to my people when we were in the Executive Council, it's become a slogan that an assignment not supervised is an assignment not given. And so for us, the supervision, the reporting in the entire loop is very, very critical. But so far, we have had no evidence of that. In fact, the surge to public facilities that even a whole lot of private providers of these antenatal and delivery services are now crying, because there is a surge in thousands, you can say, within some months. I have been in office for 2 years plus now. And within a year plus of this policy, you've seen about 82,888 beneficiaries, and with near zero mortality in the deliveries. And that tells you there must be something working. And we also have, the reporting, the whistleblowing thing, and how you report even the patients. If you're not getting the care that you need, how you call and report, and we'll get this loop. We've got a very efficient team in terms of the leadership of my health ministry, and they're working around the clock, ensuring that the monitoring, the health facility monitoring system working. And we're also deploying technology very, very effectively in this monitoring and evaluation exercise. And so far, I would say, so good.
Absolutely.
We have had over about 83,000 beneficiaries
it's
less
a lot
than 2 years.
And just as you said, in 2 years to have done so much is quite an achievement, and something that anyone can't take away from you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to win that award, as that we were talking about earlier. But in all of these, and I'm sure there are a number of pain points that you would have, sitting in the privileged position that you have. One of them is the insecurity that continues to pervade the Southeast. People hear all of these things. They still hear that in some environments, there is no such thing as going to work on a particular day of the week. Well, some would say, wait a minute, does that still exist in the 21st century? But it's the news that still comes up. Maybe you want to tell us whether or not we still have such a thing. You are a governor. We can't just, you have to be able to talk about what's happening in the Southeast region, because there are those who look at the Southeast region as the economic, kind of trade headquarters, so to speak, of the country. So if we have any semblance of insecurity in that environment, I'm sure it's a kind of pain point that you as a governor, along with your colleagues, are having to deal with.
Oh, yes. The first point, that's insecurity. Literally, I mean, the issue of insecurity has become now a buzzword in the entire country. Insecurity everywhere in the country, and depending on the degree and the types and so on, different states with different forms in terms of the character and the perversity of the insecurity. That's the first point. Second is that yes, the Southeast faces a little bit something that you can say a mixture of ideology and criminality, barefaced criminality. First, there was the agitation movement, but then criminals have taken over much of that. They're now in the bush and involved in a lucrative criminal enterprise, kidnapping, as the case may be. But again, I have to also put a footnote that part of this is also a lot of hype. If there is one incident that goes in the era of social media, it goes right around as if you get to the place, bullets are flying over everybody's head and so on. I mean, when you talk about sit at home, yes, to a large extent, I would say it's still half of the Southeast. You still find that. In my state, the battle is on. The capital city and the environs, there is no such thing. In some other cities, yes, maybe in the morning, some people still want to see how it goes from 12 o'clock, and then people are out there in the street. But we're very, very focused on tackling this. In fact, by Monday, Tuesday, we will be launching major all-out initiative that we're coming out full scale in terms of what we can do at the kinetic level in terms of matching this force, as it were. We'll be launching what we call Operation Udogachi, and that is that peace must prevail, as it were, Monday or Tuesday. But then following this at a deeper level, because there is some ideology to this, following it with longer, medium to longer term non-kinetic approaches, mobilizing the people to realize that this is plain criminality. They're not just because we're fighting a situation where the people have been brainwashed to believe that the criminals are in fact their liberators. And that's a very, awkward situation. And so you don't even know who you are, almost like in a guerrilla warfare. You find these guys in the bush. Some people believe that they are the actual liberators for them. Yeah. And then you are the one, have to explain to them that these are the kidnappers, these are the criminals. And
that's a very interesting way. That's a very interesting approach, Your Excellency. But then I'm sure you're also aware of this whole initiative by, I think it was even the governor of Kaduna State who spoke on behalf of governors, that most of the governors now line up behind the state police initiative. First of all, what's your take on that? Secondly, for the Southeast specifically, do you think it will help address anything, particularly the issues that you have raised?
Well, yeah, this is it's not just a majority. Is the idea a project whose time has come? You can't live in denial. You do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. That's the definition of being, insanity. It's a time for us to try something else. I know some people have reservations, it might be abused. And I say, what system in the world is built and it's not abused? Come on. It's abused, and then as you then try it, systems grow by trial. Systems develop, institutions develop through practice. No institution was developed even in the US to practice all this thing. Several of these, or in the UK and all. There will still be incidents of abuse here and there, but you cannot be afraid of death and commit suicide in the process. So the idea of state police will certainly advance this thing to, significantly. because the issue of ownership is very critical. And let me give you an example. Ownership is very important. When you advertise for recruitment into the Nigerian army, the people from here don't apply. You advertise for recruitment into the Nigerian police. People from here refuse to apply. We advertise to recruit a local vigilante, and you have hundreds of thousands applying. What do you think is the issue here? So, ownership, local ownership, every security, insecurity thing is a local thing, especially when people begin to doubt even people no longer, because of this ideological separatist movement, people are a little bit suspicious of the others. You need to have a conversation as to how the people themselves will own their policing and security architecture. Without the ownership by the locals, without their ownership, and the people themselves come out and report the criminals, how do you get the intel? How do you know who is the criminal? Because they live among the people. These criminals, the kidnappers and so on, they are people's husbands, they are people's uncles, they are people's brothers, they are people's relations and so on and so forth. They live in the villages. But the people largely maintain a culture of silence. To some extent, they don't trust some of the institutions to come forward and so on, because there is this mindset as to what is their mission and so on. So that is one bucket of it. But even at a fundamental level, as we speak, you have to think that we can police Nigeria and, from Abuja. I think the evidence is quite clear. It's just, it's just not going to work. You got to decentralize this. I'm even saying state police, we're going to ultimately even get down from state police to local government policing framework. We copied this presidential system from America, but we do copy only some parts and we leave off the others. There you have county police, you have the state, and of course the federal ones coordinating, and so on and so forth. So policing has to become local and largely, to be effective, coordinating with the federal forces, and then the funding, which comes down to issue about our fiscal federalism, what resources are sent down, and so on and so forth. Will the states be able to fund this when many states are struggling to pay their basics and so on and so forth? It would differ from state to state, but let that option be there. Let people have the option to be able to equip an army. I'm not going to, on this particular platform, say all the challenges you have with the centralized system. That some of those are off the camera. Okay. But the general point to be made is that the idea of state police is an idea whose time has long come. It hasn't just come. It's long come a long time ago. Okay, but, Prof.
Yeah, Prof. What are your thoughts about local government autonomy?
Yeah. My thought. I know you. I can see even from your face, you're already. From your face, you were trying to be mischievous. Anyway, that's what I can guess from your laughter. Even as you asked the question, the way you started laughing, I knew you could see that you were trying to. But let's put it this way. I guess there is a total something gets on in our lexicon, and we'll start discussing this, and we'll start talking about autonomy, non-autonomy. I don't know where that ever comes from. You have three tiers, three levels of government that have to work in a collaborative and cooperative way with only one mission. They have only one mission. That mission is the security and welfare of the people.
Yep.
Whether it's the local, whether it's the state, under the federal. And the three of them have to work in a coordinated and collaborative way for it to work. So you cannot clap with your left hand being autonomous of the, so it depends on what you mean by autonomy, actually. Autonomy in the sense of autarky. Of course, you know, it's all an oxymoron, as it were. But local governments going to have their delineated responsibilities as defined in the Constitution, and for them to actually deliver on those and get them to work? Absolutely, the local governments must take charge. And here in Anambra, we're trying to get the system to work in a form that is developmental, that makes public finance, local government finance, delivery of services go on a sustainable basis. And let me ask you, I mean, I put up something. That was the discussion about sending money directly to the local governments and so on and so forth. I'm all for it. Fair enough, the Supreme Court has spoken. You send money to them, absolutely no problem. Just like you also send to the states. As we speak now, we sat at the National Economic Council 2 days ago and decided that we should directly from FAC money before sharing, take out money to fund a federal institution, which is RAMFAC. The same way we take out money from there to fund, which we put into funding of national security system before the money is distributed. This is part of the coordination that we all agree that we need to come together to fund this common service at the federal level. And we have done that. At the state level, what many people don't know is that the Local Government Service Commission, the local government workers in many states, especially mine, in most states, you have pooled staff. You don't have workers belonging to a specific local government. The workers are posted from one local government to the other. Yep. Under the universal basic education, you have the primary school teachers that are pooled together and they are posted from one local government to the other. Now, several people have retired and they are now pensioners. Some, they probably never even worked in their own local government of origin and they are now retirees. What we're saying is, even if you pay resources independently to the local government, there are now common services that they must pool resources together to deal with. How do you pay that pensioner who has worked for 30, 35 years and retired and now has to be paid pension? Whose responsibility will it be if the local governments don't pool some of their resources together to deal with that? The teachers in the primary school, that's what this resource is meant for. Because I hear all this manner of conversation. Governors take local government money to do. And so when I came in, the local government system, they were owing 14.6 billion unpaid arrears to retired people from the civil service, retired primary school teachers, and so on and so forth. Their gratuity. The local government system was all but broke.
It raises another question, Your Excellency. My sincere apologies. It raises the question because what we understand from the state, the joint accounts of the state and local government is that on the one hand, the federal government puts the money into that purse. The state government also should put money into that purse. Okay? To
correct you, it's not federal government
Federation
that's not putting money there.
Federation
it is the the federation.
Okay.
It doesn't put money. It is the share, their constitutional share of the federation. Have you ever asked yourself, let me not even get, I think I don't want us to derail from the substance of the matter. The substance of the matter is that you must have a framework that ensures that local governments, their finances are sustainable and that they deliver the services that they are required to do. Now that you have pooled services, this pool of services, you got to find a way that they now pool their resources to be able to fund those pool of services. That is, and then the state itself. For example, I understand that before this 1999 constitution, when they tried some of the other ones, I mean, in my state, for example, there were local government that were owing salaries to primary school teachers 2 years plus, 3 years plus. Some owing pension, so each month, you don't know which local government will pay salary this month, or which local government will not pay, and so on and so forth. And some local government will even say, no, don't post primary school teachers to us because it will raise their wage bill, and so on. And it's a total chaos. And for example, if a local government goes bankrupt, is unable to meet its bills, who bails it out?
State government.
Well, that's a question you have to answer, Your Excellency.
Now you come back again.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
So where you are,
yes,
for example, is that you got to have, for example, what we've tried to do in Anambra, such a beautiful response. Okay, we've designed a system which we think can work, and I'm glad many states, also on that same trajectory, because we learn this our federalism is imperfect. We keep adjusting as we see the problems. There must be a logic what the framers of the Constitution saw to set up the joint account. If it's being abused and so on, then we must find other ways of, crafting something, but you don't see a particular problem and then you throw away the entire system. What we now have is a system that ensures sustainability, ensures that workers, and by the way, you realize that NLC, National Union of Teachers, National Union of Pensioners, and so on and so forth, wrote to the federal government and said, please don't send our money to local governments. We know what we went through before. But we're saying, no, even if it's sent there, these local governments can come together and say, okay, this is what belongs to us. What do we require to make sure that teachers are paid? What do we require to ensure that the pensioners who have worked in our local government system
and that's paid? One very good
Let's
way.
put this together, pay them off, and then you appropriate the balance of it all.
Absolutely.
That way, the system then operates on autopilot. Local governments are able to deliver the services that they are required under the law, but making sure that you don't wreck the core of the functions that are being assigned to these institutions, by that level of government, by the Constitution.
Your Excellency, it will be remiss of us to not ask you this, a final question concerning all of the reforms that the federal government has initiated, particularly the tax reform bills, which a good number of people feel the governors are up in arms against. We have just about 2 minutes for you on this. What is your take on these tax reform bills? You have been, you've headed the central bank before, so you do understand what the challenges are in terms of, federation account, federal government's money, state government's money, and all of that. Is it going to be helpful in the short, medium, or long term, or do you think there are some things that need to be adjusted in the interest of all concerned?
You've asked a short question that ought to have a very long answer, but you said you have just 1 minute or two. I think...
my producer is in my ears right now telling me that I've even overrun already, but please go ahead.
Okay, now that you have overrun, I think I better, I'm not going to, and don't drag me the way you have framed it and so on and so forth. I think the very first point to be made, without a question, is that we need the tax reforms.
Cool.
I mean, that's not There's no if and buts about it. Do we need tax reforms? Of course we do. Do we need a restructuring of our fiscal federalism? Yes, we do. I mean, I have written about this extensively myself while I was in government from 2003 until I left. Even after I left office, I wrote some back page articles on the back page of This Day that the way we're going is just a journey to nowhere with regards to our fiscal federalism and with regards to even our tax structure, the tax incentives. Some of the tax structure, I mean, the way they're designed is such that they don't give us any, there's no incentive for people to be productive, as it were. It's a big topic to be dealt with. Now, I know there are issues. Issue of taxation comes within the heart of the political economy. It gets down to the issue of power and politics. That's at the vortex of it. Politics, as I say, some define it as the authoritative allocation of value or the process that determines who gets what, when, and how. So the tax conversation around tax gets into the vortex of this. And you can see where interests now come in. Diverse interests will come in. And so the conversation that I believe we need to narrow, hopefully sooner than later, is to come down to the issue of the distribution, the attribution, the distribution thing, because I see much of the conversation when all the chiefs are down, they pen down to just a few, one or two line items. And I think you get a small team in the room and we'll be able to hammer this out, get onto the negotiations. Some of it is just crass bargaining and get this done. But do we need a tax reform?
Yes, we do.
We needed it. We needed it 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, Your Excellency. I mean, I wish we had more time. In fact, we have to make more time for this. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Professor Charles Soludo is the governor of Anambra State. I'm not going to make the mistake of thinking Ekiti State this time around. Have a wonderful rest of your day, sir.
Well, my brother in Ekiti is doing a great job.
Oh, certainly. Most certainly.
Thank you.
I'm just looking forward to that day where we'll have a Governor Soludo in Kaduna State, Chukwuemeka Eze in Lagos, and all of those. But, you know, those days are going to come. Thank you for your time.
They're welcome. So they're welcome. They're welcome in Nigeria and Suleiman in this other place. We actually had the first mayor of Enugu happen to be a northerner.
Wow.
I think one Usman or something, the first mayor in the 50s. Absolutely. But I think we'll get there. Nigeria will regain back. It's not by accident that God made us the biggest black nation on earth. We must realize our potentials.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next conversation is coming up right after now.